Excellence starts with the small yes, while keeping minor promises sets you apart. In this video, we're going to explore how and why every yes that you say should be a yes, and every no that you say should be a no. And to give you practical ways to apply this in your life and business, and how applying this concept of essentially keeping your word and letting your yes be your yes will, over long periods of time, help you build meaningful relationships with the people within your sphere of influence, and it will allow you then to generate more sales and serve more customers and clients to the best of your ability, while simultaneously having influence over them, having a positive influence over them by the way you act and behave. Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the co-founder of Kingdom Impact Lab, and what we do is we have a framework which we have called Light, and this is a framework which we teach people to show you how to proactively behave in a Christlike way in all areas of life, and to actively resist the external influences that are subtly influencing your decisions and subconscious from the world, business world, marketplace that you're in, which will pull you more towards focusing on money, greed, pride, and all of those things. And Light stands for love, integrity, generosity, humble service, and transformation through excellence. This video series here is to explore different practical ways that you can become excellent at what you do in your ability, your character, and your integrity. So let's dive in. So why should you honor every commitment that you make, even the small ones? So in the Sermon on the Mount, I believe it is, Jesus teaches that let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. In other words, it's teaching us that when we make promises, we have to keep our word. Why do we have to keep our word? Even on the small things. Well, on the big things, it's pretty obvious that if you promise to deliver a result to your clients and you fail to deliver that result within the time frame that you said, quite clearly you have failed and you have not lived up to expectations. That's fairly easy to see. Now, in certain circumstances, there are mitigating factors where things like missing deadlines or not hitting results, there are reasons for it, sometimes outside of your control, and that's okay with clear communication. However, if you promise to deliver a certain result within a certain time frame and you just completely ghost the client, you don't tell them anything that's happening and you pretty much ignore them, and then you show up a week or so later asking what's going to happen, well, we can all see and understand how that's actually a problem. And well, in the past, when I had my business, I've been on the receiving end of things similar to that, where freelancers and contractors made promises and the only thing that they really cared about is getting a fee from you, and it just descends down from there. We can all understand that. So what about down to even the small things and the things which you and I may say in passing as an offhanded comment, something that we may say without even thinking about, something that we would consider to be insignificant, something along the lines of, oh, we'll call you back at this specific time today, or if you want to have a call, that you agree to have a call with someone, and then you actually respond to the email about having the call and scheduling a time. If it's something along the lines of saying you'll get back to someone with feedback by a certain time at the end of the day, but of course you're busy and you're swamped and you have a lot of other urgent tasks that's vying for your attention. It's quite easy for us to forget to do these things, and essentially we are saying yes and we are making a small promise to someone, but the reality is that we get distracted and we quite likely forget about it, or we fail to prioritise our promises above other things. I'm guilty of that, and it's something I'm actively trying to work on. So I fully understand how difficult it is to keep every single promise that you make. For example, with me, it's telling people that I will get something done by a certain time. This is me in my own business, and because of various things with a baby and a 3-year-old, when things become chaotic and unpredictable, which they often do with young kids, it just completely slips your mind, and next thing you know, it's bedtime and you really don't want to fire up your laptop just to send something over to someone, because turning on the laptop, it's going to, looking at the screen, it disrupts your sleep and all of these things, so I completely get it. However, it's not the Christ-like thing to do, and if you want to pursue excellence, you need to have impeccable honour of every single commitment. You need to have every small promise that you make, you need to keep, and that's basically it. So the purpose of what I'm saying here is that if someone asks you for something, or you make a micro commitment to someone else, and if you make a micro commitment even to yourself, try your absolute best to keep it. And if you are faced with a situation where things really are out of your control, just let the other person know the reason behind it, and apologise profusely, and that's the only thing you can really do. For me, the story that's coming to my mind now, which I just want to share with you, is we work with someone to build the website for us, and my wife was communicating with this person over what to do and how to get all of the things going, because I just, things like that, communicating the minor details and the back and forth, it just stresses me out. It's not something I'm good at, and also it's with the technical details of things and all of these things. And there's times when I make an agreement with the person building the website that we'll send you this stuff by the end of today by email. I'll give all the stuff to my wife, and then it turns out she forgets to do it on the night because the baby's up, or oldest son's misbehaving and various things, and then she forgets about it, and then 2 days later I get the email back saying, hey, you haven't sent that thing, and it's kind of, all of these things that happen, and that's real life. It makes me uncomfortable when things happen, and it is 100% my fault. I should have taken complete ownership of what this project was. I'm the person that's sort of trying to communicate and trying to have the website built, so it's 100% down to me, but I'm delegating tasks that I don't want. I'm making promises to someone, and then I'm delegating these tasks to someone else who I understand the environment that we're in and how easy it is to forget these little things, and then I'm feeling uncomfortable when things aren't done to my own standard. So just to put it out there and to share it, but that's the experience that I've had myself, and it's how I'm actively trying to overcome this. Let's say it's an ongoing journey, and that's just what it is. Now, why is it important to do this? Well, first of all, it's obvious that if you keep every single promise that you have to the people that you're working with and you're helping and everyone that you interact with, this builds your trust and credibility over a period of time, and the more trustworthy you are, the better things are going to be for you in the long term. From a business perspective, what I used to focus on as a email marketer, or email marketing, in order to sell high-priced offers, was email marketing was a vehicle and a tool for building and nurturing long-term relationships. Because a lot of the time, in my experience, is that in order for someone to sign up to a high-priced offer, like when I'm selling a client's offer and it was $5,000 per unit, and then trying to sell 50, 60, 70 of these per month on average, what you find is that maybe about 10 to 15% of them, the people would invest in a $5,000 offer within the first 90 days or so of contacting, of the first contact. So if you contact someone today, or you click on one of your ads, whatever it is, that maybe 15% of them, or about 1 in 6, would buy from you within the first 90 days. And then 85% of these would buy after 90 days at some point in the future. And so it makes sense then that you focus on the long-term relationships and the long-term nurturing, because you're going to get 6 times more people buy over the long term than in the first 90 days. And so when a core principle of the email marketing is you have to do things to build trust, credibility, and the more trust, authority, credibility that you can build by keeping the promises, by making the yeses yes, by having integrity and staying consistent in your messaging in email marketing with what people signed up for, the more you do this, the more likely someone is to buy from you over a period of time, which then increases your sales and profitability. It also increases the way that people come into your business, because if you have that pre-existing relationship that you've nurtured over several months or even years sometimes, people come in knowing what to expect. And if you have built that level of trust up over long periods of time, you're much more likely to have higher quality clients. You actually enjoy working with them. They put in the work, and they actually get the results because they've done the work that you've told them to do, and then they give you a glowing testimonial and they refer others. You're happy because you've given them the result. They're happy because you've vastly exceeded expectations, and everyone's happy. All of this comes from making small deposits of trust, small deposits of following through with promises and commitments, and small micro commitments and micro promises day after day, week after week, over long periods of time, and that's how you build that relationship and trust. So from a business standpoint, that's kind of how it is. From a business standpoint as well, it makes far more sense to have someone that trusts and likes your business paying you every single month because they're happy with the service that they get. They like you, they trust you, they view you as an authority, compared to someone who basically buys from you as a one-off payment, and then you don't deliver on the promises, and then you don't want to work with them again. For example, recently, about a month or 2 ago, my wife bought something like from a parenting course, and they had a lot of offers, a lot of things in the business, and she paid $8 for it. And then when she went to check the bank account, this company who offered, what my wife's words, an insane number of upsells, it was annoying. It turns out they charged us for 2 things that we didn't knowingly pay for, and then we've contacted them and asked for the refund. But this company now can be the best company on parenting in the world, but as a result of them being hyper aggressive with the upsells, after you pay for something, and then buy this kind of thing, and some kind of mistake on their end has led them to taking a couple of $100 from our bank account without us being aware of it. All trust has eroded as a result of this. That's to illustrate what happens on the other side if you don't have this trust and integrity. So it's obvious why every small yes that you make in the context of business is something you need to focus on keeping your promises to. Now, how does this actually apply in your personal life? Well, the best way that I can explain this is through a story of how this works with me. If you've watched any videos or know anything about me, you know that I am an avid runner. I like to do long distance endurance runs, and one thing that I have noticed for me when I'm training, especially when it's a hard workout and you're running as fast as you can and you're struggling because where we live it's super hot and super humid, or you're gasping for breath and you're thinking, oh, I've got another 30 minutes to go, how am I going to hold on? But the thing is, because I've used every single mental trick that I possibly can in order to hold on as long as I can when I'm doing these runs, a lot of the time I finish them. I finish the training run at the intensity that I want to do. When it gets hard, I don't stop, I don't quit. I've learned the resilience, and the key word is learned, the resilience, learned to persevere and to push. Well, the reason how this relates is that so many times on probably literally hundreds of these training runs, when things are tough and I've just said to myself, I'm not going to stop. Well, 95% of the time I don't stop and I finish the run. And I finish within the pace that I kind of set myself for this short duration. And because I've made these small promises to myself that I'm going to continue, even if it gets hard, and do whatever I can for as long as I can, it's built up this resilience where I've got this confidence that I'll go into a run now and it's hard. Well, I know that I can hang on for longer than I suspect I can. And the point I'm trying to make is that if you make promises to yourself, and you small micro promises to yourself, and you fail to keep them, you are building a habit where you can actually follow through with things. You are building up a habit where it's acceptable not to finish things, it's acceptable not to do things, it's acceptable not to pursue things to the best of your ability. And then you do this for long enough, and then all of a sudden mediocrity becomes the norm. So if you want to pursue excellence, it is super, super important that when you make yourself a promise, that you actually follow through and you keep it. And when you do, in the same way as me with my running, you build up this confidence where you know that you can get through things, and you have the confidence that you can actually go and push through and persevere, and then push into new areas that you didn't know existed. And that is how you excel. So just to summarize, excellence starts with a small yes. You need to keep your promises and your commitments in the context of business, and the reason for that is because it's how you build long-term relationships, it's how you nurture relationships, it's how you build trust, authority and credibility, which over the long term will lead to much better, higher quality, higher paying customers and clients in your business that you actually love to work with, and they love to work with you equally as much, rather than focusing on just getting that one-time sale and maximising the amount of money and getting an immediate transaction, but just ignoring everything else that happens afterwards. And in your own personal life, it's so you build up a habit of actually pursuing excellence and pushing boundaries, because if you don't, you'll eventually slip into mediocrity. Okay, that's all I have got for you. If you'd like any help on how you can pursue excellence in your ability while actively pursuing Christ-likeness in all actions of what you do in your day-to-day business life, and you want to focus on excellence in your ability so you can serve your customers and clients to the best of your ability, while simultaneously making more sustainable profits and revenue in your business, then I'd love for you to reach out and chat. That's all. See you in the next video.